This is PC Gamer Radio, and today our host Lipstickpaddy is going to tell you all about the bad news of the 6000 series AMD graphics cards. And we are not talking about the lack of availability, but more inside. What are the ray tracing strengths of this card, and why, and what does it mean? So Lipstickpaddy, please take it away. Alright peeps, it's a special day today for graphics as we have more information. And everybody knows that this card has already sold out, but it is a blessing in disguise. Now, why are people wanting a new graphics card? It's because they want a card for the future of PC gaming, which is ray tracing. And we knew a lot about this card, but it's ray tracing card, and I'm going to tell you now and explain why this card is dead on arrival. Yeah. The only clear strategy now is simply to wait until the 3000 series comes in stock, because the competition has done an epic fail. This means a few things which we'll talk about near the end, but I first want to explain why I've come to this conclusion. Now, Tom's Hardware is my go-to place for finding information out, and they've done a variety of tests which you can look at this card, but the main thing for me is the future proof of this card, because if the card cannot ray trace, then it's going to be short-lived. You're basically buying a 5000 series Radeon that's more powerful, and when ray tracing games come out, you will have to upgrade to a ray tracing card. Is this card not a ray tracing card? Now, this is a 10 game ray tracing average. You can see the 6800 XT just going over the 3070. Some of these benchmarks are non-real world, but you'll notice the 3080 is killing it in ray tracing. If we go to the Quad HD, the 3080 is still killing it. We go down to 1080p and it's still no competition. So at 1080p Quad HD or Quad 4K, not in competition with the 3080 at all. At all. I want a ray tracing card. This card cannot do anything. Now let's look at some of these benchmarks. 3D Port Royale is trying to test ray tracing on potential future games, not in the running. More benchmarks, not in the running. We've got Call of Duty is a bit of an old game now, but ray tracing, no bueno. Look at this, worse than the 3070. It is worse than a 2080 Ti for ray tracing an old game. It just doesn't have the goods. It doesn't have the muscle for ray tracing. Now, I don't care about its rasterization strength. I already have a card in my machine that's good at rasterization. I don't want a rasterization card. I want a ray tracing card. Legion is out. We've got Cyberpunk coming out, and lots of other good stuff. World of Warcraft's getting ray tracing, and Fortnite, the ray tracing in that game looking amazing. Now, Control at 4K, this is kind of the biggest benchmark for ray tracing at present, and it's getting nailed. Now, I just want to say one thing here, because reviews are not testing this card versus DLSS. They don't think it's fair. Well, that's for us to decide if it's fair, and I'm going to give you a real world scenario. Let's say my friend gets the 6800 XT for control, and he's running it at 4K, and he's getting 18.8 frames a second. Well, on my machine, where I've got DLSS, I'm getting 60 at 4K on my 3080. Well, that's because you've got DLSS. No, I'm just using my card as intended. It's a real world situation. I am not going to use DLSS with control. And when you do that, it absolutely murders the 6800 XT. In fact, DLSS on the 3070 is going to murder the 6800 XT. That's the real world scenario, peeps, being played out. It gets murdered because all these tests are ignoring DLSS. The other one I want to look at here is Fortnite Ray Tracing Edition, and oh dear, 10 frames a second at 4K. 10 frames a second. All right, the 38 is only getting 15, but it has DLSS. It goes to 60. So 60 versus 10. The 6800 XT is dead on arrival. It doesn't even compete with the 3070 because the 3070 has DLSS. What's going on, peeps? Let's switch this down. 4K, 23 frames a second, still embarrassing. Remember, these RTX numbers up here do not include DLSS, which will vastly improve your frame rate for this game. And at 1080p, this is the only way you can run it in ray tracing, is at 1080p. Now, who is at 1080p? The only people on 1080p are those with super fast screens. We're talking 120 frames per second, 240 frames a second, 300 plus frames a second will still have a 1080p screen. And if they're looking at this card, they're going, no way! 60 1080p should be bare minimum. Can't even do that. Oh my god. Now, just want to stress that the RTX cards will have DLSS. DLSS is confirmed to be with all of the... what's it called? Oh my goodness. Epics. The Unreal Engine. There you go. It's going to support DLSS, all titles in the future. So, oh dear. We've got more embarrassment as we go down to ray tracing here, where the card is only really matching the 3070 with no DLSS. So, there's zero competition here. The 3080 is still super strong. Now, this is one to investigate watchdogs here. Now, at 4K, the ray tracing edition seems to be getting up there around 3080. All right. This is investigate this. At Quad HD, it's the same as the 3080, and at 1080p, it's almost there. However, we have pictures of NVIDIA on the left, watchdogs on the right. You'll notice the pipe here on the left has full reflection. The AMD have turned it off. This is why it's getting a higher frame rate in watchdogs, because it's essentially running the console version where they've made sure the ray tracing isn't as brutal on the hardware as it is on the PC. We can clearly see that on the pipe something is going on. Now, this one's kind of a little bit more subtle, but you can just see here on the floor, there's like a little reflective mirror reflecting the pipe on the wall. Now, I'm highlighting this because it's showing that the ray trace light from that light is reaching down there and reflecting. The AMD RT is not shooting the ray trace that far because it can't handle it. So it's turning the length of the ray trace off, and we're talking here 3 meters. It's less than 3 meters, the actual ray trace reflection. Oh my god. And in Watch Dogs, you are going to see reflections through windows of cars disappearing when this is on. It's the same with Watch Dogs low ray tracing mode. Objects disappear. Now these are just stills here. Now you notice this person's trousers on the floor should be shiny. This is the clothes he's wearing. It doesn't look like it's got no reflections. The RT though has that in the reflective trousers he's wearing. Again, turning it off. And in the puddle reflection here, yeah, it's a little bit subtle. You got a bit of a stronger pink line there. It's more true to the light in the scene. Yeah. So this is why the Watch Dogs is getting up here to be similar, because it's turning stuff off. It's like it's doing it differently. In the text here, it also says it could be a bug. Could be a bug. Maybe it's just a bug. Maybe it'll get fixed. But it's still not good at all, is it? But, peeps. So, we can see that this card doesn't have the goods for ray tracing. Yet this card is what all the consoles have. And it has more ray tracing strength in this card than the consoles. So are the consoles really weak tea when it comes to ray tracing? That's the big question. So all these ray tracing games that come out here, are the consoles going to have that running on low ray tracing mode? Whereas on PC we get to choose high with DLSS. This is going to be a huge debate. And the other thing is that AMD, the processors on the desktop at the minute, oh dear, not the Threadripper. This beast, the 5000 series, they can knock one of these out, sell it for 500, no fan or heatsink. And remember, it's coming from the same factory. They've got 4 products that they can make. The Ryzen 5000 series, the Radeon graphics cards, Xbox One X architecture, or PlayStation 5. All of them wanting to get from the finite amount of chips that can be produced. And for AMD, this processor is the most profitable by far. It's just a tiny little box. You don't have to put heat sinks on here. You don't need to send these to partners, shipping, blah, blah, blah. It's so less complex. And we've heard shortages of this Xbox Series X running short in America, so it comes to no surprise that the Radeon is in short supply. But trust me, peeps, after what I've said and what I've seen in these, I've looked at other benchmarks as well, but I won't bore you with them. It's similar story. Oh, the card itself is just rasterization. That's what it's good at. Your present card, you may be happy. But for me, I'm running Quad HD, and I plan on getting a quad. Sorry, I hope to get a bigger screen. I'm going to go 31 4K. 31 inch 4K. I'm currently 27 quad, and I want the card to be able to scale to 4K. So that's the future proof I want out of it, as 4K screens should be coming down in price in 2021 or 2022. So we'll just have to see. And, you know, even though it's 16 gigabytes, I'm fairly happy with the 3080 with its 10. So that is it. This card is not a next generation card in my view. I hope I've shown you why I think that. If you think my understanding is wrong, let me know in the comments. Please give it a thumbs up in the chat, on the video if you like it. Don't vote if you're not happy with what I said, and tell me why in the comments, please. I want to start a conversation. But in short, if you're looking for a next-gen graphics card, your only option is to wait. Wait for the NVIDIA 3000 series to come into stock and get the card you're happy with. So all you can do is wait, keep saving, and get the card of our dreams. And it's not coming from the red team. So on that bombshell, you've been listening to PC Gamer Radio. I've been your host, Lipstickpaddy. You take care, stay safe. Bye-bye for now. Well, thanks for watching. And if you remember, you can please subscribe and like the video. And don't remember, you can also hit the bell for notices on the channel. Yeah, we've also got a Twitter you can see on our banner, so check that out too. So take care and bye-bye.